and welcome to the first episode of Good Things Live, a little show that we've put together for you guys to bring some good things to your home or wherever you're watching this. My name is Brent Lindeque. They call me the Good Things Guy. I created a platform a couple of years ago, a small blog, with the idea to share one good news story every day with South Africa, a good news story from South Africa and for South Africans. And in the space of 5 or 6 years, it's become one of the top good news sites in the country. And we've decided that we're going to bring these stories to life through this new Good Things Live. I always say, in times of tragedy, look for the helpers. Those are the people we should be celebrating. Those are the heroes that we should be talking about. And in my job with Good Things Guy, I get to tell these stories, research them, and bring them to you every single day. Just this week, we spoke about an incredible person, Kim Whitaker, who started an initiative after speaking to a doctor in Lombardy in Italy. Lombardy was the epicenter of COVID-19 in Italy. And she asked this doctor a simple question. She said, knowing what you know now, what would you have done perhaps differently? And the doctor said to her, if we had known, we would have opened up the empty hotels for the frontline workers to stay in these B&Bs and guest houses and hotels so that they could be self-isolated in a comfortable space that's also close to the hospitals. Kim used that information and created what is now Ubuntu Beds, a reality in South Africa that is helping frontline workers right now stay in comfort and safety and get to work where they can do what they need to do to look after us. Then you get companies like U Media and JB Media. A gentleman by the name of Benjamin Deeb decided to take his billboards around Joburg and open them up to small and medium enterprises that are battling right now. He's helped over 60 people already, giving away R500,000 rands worth of free advertising, and he's giving away 60 more. Those companies have already been decided because thousands of people applied. And it's just that way of thinking that if we think a little bit differently out the box, we can really help each other get through this. Then there's incredible stories like we reported on yesterday. A Port Elizabeth resident who now lives globally, Belinda Davids, the name might ring a bell, she got onto Britain's Got Talent, and they decided to end the applications with her. She was the final audition, and she got a standing ovation for her song. She sang Whitney Houston, and the judges have put her through to the next round. Proudly South African, even in the middle of COVID, while we feel overwhelmed, like there's a lot going on in the world, and there is a lot going on in the world. Even in South Africa with the lockdown, the regulations, the rules, it can feel very overwhelming. We see it on social media, how people are getting more and more angry after being locked away for 9 weeks. And that is specifically why I wanted to kick off the show today with two incredible guests to talk to us a little bit about mental wellness, because I think it's hugely, hugely important. So we've got the MD of Ogilvy Health World, Gillian Bridger, that'll be joining us, and Rita Rulvert, a life coach who I've spoken to before in a webinar that wasn't a webinar. And we had the best conversation because we can also get a little bit tired of that, right? Living at home, living on social media, seeing these webinars that are going out daily, it can feel quite pressured to have to tune in and hear people tell you things, whereas what we need is a conversation about mental wellness. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Hello.
It's really, really good to see you again. Maybe just so we have an understanding, Rita, give us a little bit of background. What is it that you do and why do your words matter?
Wow.
No pressure.
Sure.
No.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Brent. I am a life coach. I've initially studied drama and theatre arts and then went into psychology and then decided life coaching is the arena in which I want to play in the field of mental health. And yeah, that's basically me. I've had my own journey, massive journey, weird and wonderful journey, and it's such a privilege for me to walk that journey with different clients. And the reason I'm on with Ogilvy is I'm on-site counselor for them, and that's been such a special journey for me as well, to just collaborate with Ogilvy in that way. They really take mental health to a whole new level.
This is exactly why I invited you on the show. We did this webinar that wasn't a webinar where we were discussing all these things with Gillian. So Gillian, obviously you run the health wellness area of Ogilvy.
Yes.
And you both had so much insight as to how we could cope a little bit better with what's going on right now. Yes, today, the 1st of June, we've moved to level 3, but what does that mean? Like, people are going back to work, and I don't even understand. You've been locked away for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and now we're starting this new normal that doesn't even make sense. Is mental wellness an important part of what we should be focusing on right now?
Absolutely, Brent. I think people going back to work today are expecting to go back to their normal life. It's not the normal life. They're going to find that there's reduced amount of people there. There's a whole lot of, temperatures need to be taken, masks need to be worn. This is not going back to work as we were before. So I think some of them are going back under illusion. Some are going back under fear. Is it okay to go out there? How's it going to be? Am I at risk? So I think a lot of mixed emotions about today and going back to work. And obviously, some might be at work, some might still be working remotely. So there's that whole team dynamic that isn't what they're used to dealing with.
From your experiences with the corporate world, have you seen a shift in people's psyche? Because I see it on social media, right? My business and Good Things Guy, where we live, is on social media, and a lot of what I see is, it's angry. For me, I see a lot of anger. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of people that are maybe depressed, that are dealing with these mental wellness things. So do you see it from a corporate side as well?
Absolutely. And I think if a company's not paying attention to the mental health and wellness of the employees, that they actually are doing the employees a disservice. And I think you're going to see companies that can really feed the loyalty that they get from their employees, and others that are just destroying it. So what we're seeing is a bit of two different camps. We're seeing those that are obeying the rules and doing everything as they should, and then others that are saying, like, really this they're not seeing they've got what I call magnitude insensitivity, and they're saying, well, we're all going to get it, so stuff it. Let's have gatherings, let's have meetings, and we've got the two camps, and you've got to navigate the two camps with sensitivity. It's like with beliefs. People have strong beliefs, so we're having to navigate that. I think generally people are, certainly in our industry, using this to create a new normal. Can we work remotely? Can we do brainstorming team? We're all in the creative side of things. Can we do it this way? And having the opportunity to show that it works, we've showed that at high levels that this can work.
So one of the things, and the word normal drives me absolutely crazy. because a lot of people are speaking about this new normal, or like we're going to be working towards whatever. No, there is no normal. Normal's out the window. Right now, I think we're all dealing with a COVID normal, and that's not a normal either. So it's a COVID situation. Rita, if we think about what we could possibly do to help ourselves during this time, help ourselves with coping with this COVID situation, COVID normal.
Yeah. Thanks, Brent. You know what? I just think before we get there, we just need to acknowledge how much it sucks. Because
plain and simply, it sucks.
Yeah, it really is. Because there's this beautiful thing called in psychology, the concept of insight in psychology is when the problem becomes so clear that the solution presents itself. And that's often what I've seen with people, and it's been very interesting to me that the clients whom I've had that have walked the journey through deep past traumas, through that and came to the other side, have said this thing, this pattern I've picked up, where people have said, you know what, it's sort of like, I know this blueprint, this COVID blueprint. I know this. I've been here. I've been here where, where most people are now, where we've thrown into this uncertainty because they've sort of dealt and been confronted with themselves. So I think, firstly, we have to acknowledge that it sucks big time, and that it is, and nobody's got it together. That's been so nice for me with my colleagues and mentors and stuff. Let's just all call it, we don't know what the hell we're doing. We don't. We are figuring it out as we go along, and we must all give each other a break now. I love that thing going on social media that said, if you're going to be going around now, businesses are opening, don't just go immediately and report them. Go to the manager, tell them, listen, I see you haven't got this in place, because we're all struggling just sort of to get it together right now.
It's that word that media keep using, unprecedented. It's unprecedented and it's uncharted waters. So everybody, every single person is trying to figure this out for themselves.
Yes. And I want to end with this on that specific topic. I think what I've seen in myself is, if you take what you've been given, you have to, it's sort of like you get a puzzle, but you didn't get the picture and you have to build it. And that's where we all are now. We have to make these, we have to build the puzzle of our lives now. But the picture we thought we had, that we were building, has been taken away. But that doesn't mean that it's not, that you're not busy doing something in building. You are still building something. You are just doing much more mindfully, much less future oriented.
Well, this is the thing, that's day to day, right? We're just trying to make it through day to day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, Brent, it's really important to accept that we're not at 100% and give ourselves the permission to operate at 80% rather than crashing out and giving 0. I mean, taking a few hours out to really just get your head right, get, to do what feeds you is better than just, being out of it for 2 weeks at a time. And that's what we're seeing, that people are keeping the pose and then they're out of it for a week or two because they just can't cope. So we've got to be kind to ourselves and give ourselves permission to opt out little bits rather than the big crash.
I think that's vitally important. And the advice there, I mean, I learned very early on in the lockdown, I'm obsessive compulsive, and I've got to study and I work from home, which means that my hours seem to just become more and more and more. Every day I was putting in more hours, and at the end of the day, I didn't feel like I'd accomplished goals. Even though I was meeting the KPIs, even though I was doing what I needed to do, I just felt incredibly overwhelmed and like I was underperforming, which means I tried to work more. And I think a lot of people have had to deal with that. Working from home, you kind of get sucked into working all the time. And then you don't get time or make time to fill your own cup.
Yeah. I think I'd like to just come in there with something that I've noticed. And it links into what you said about this almost aggression type of energy we're getting from social media at the moment. If we look at the responses, the survival responses to stress and to anxiety, it's fight, flight, freeze, which is quite interesting. There's this lovely book on complex PTSD by Pete Walker, where he speaks about just you can have an overdeveloped one. And I've seen how people who have an overdeveloped fight response, and what it looks like in our life is an approaching nature. So they don't tend to withdraw. That's their go-to response, is a fight response. And I've seen them not at all buying into this narrative of hiding away, which was almost the one we took in South Africa was almost the sort of a shutdown freeze response. We all go and wait for this all to go sort of blow over, which sat well with people who have got like a naturally avoidant or naturally freezing type of thing, but especially with people who are more approaching, and those are often very successful people because they do approach, they do take things, take the bull by the horns. But I think what's happening now is because of that unconscious channeling of that actual fear into anger. We're seeing that. But then the other thing we see is the workaholics, and that's the way of coping by avoiding. And I found myself in that one as well, because here it makes sense. This machine, this makes sense. The sessions make sense. This makes sense. So we'll stick there. And to sort of just then create that space for ourselves to breathe in, I think is very important.
You mentioned PTSD there. So I must ask, is this a trauma? Are we currently going through a trauma?
Well, there's obviously varied responses, but the people I subscribe to and the colleagues that I talk to, we're all in agreement that this is definitely a collective trauma and a pre-trauma, and that also we are in a state of grief. Because, I mean, Brent, Gillian, what were you planning on doing today? Yeah. And things we were planning for this year, just the way, and not knowing when it will end. So, I mean, trauma is when our system of resources is overwhelmed. And
in the early stages of this lockdown, there was a term that was coined that said anticipatory grief, because it's the loss of something. It's the grief of something you haven't yet lost, but you have. You don't quite understand, so you're anticipating that loss. And I think I went into self-isolation a little bit earlier than everybody else, because I have a friend who had a double lung transplant 7 years ago, and as friends we all made the decision to sort of self-isolate a little bit early. But what that means is that I've been dealing with this thing a little bit longer, and it's been a little bit crazy, and I've had my ups and downs. I've been very vocal about them. I'm not afraid to be vocal about that on social media, to say, this is what I'm feeling today, this is what I'm going through. But a strange thing happened about 2-3 weeks ago. And I think it was the stage of grief where I reached acceptance. And I literally just went, I can't change the government regulations. I can't change the fact that I can't run after 9 a.m. except for now. Now that's changed for me. But I looked at everything for what it was and what it is. And I went, work with that now. This is what it is. Let's work with that so we can work through it. And I do believe that that's the different stages of grief.
Yeah, and Brent, I mean, you're touching on something quite deep there, because you see, coming there, it's so important. But that is, I think, because we are also a traumatized nation from the past, there's this thing also that, listen, that mentality will serve you very well right now to make the most of this. But if you've dealt previously with the system, like that can feel like oppression, and I think that's what people are saying, that I'm feeling this is getting taken away from me, and I sit with this, and I'll be honest, I don't have an answer, because I think we want to operate in a dichotomy. That's why we do okay if it's all or nothing. But I think if we can just bring both of those to say that, listen, it's okay, we're going to make the best of this now. I am going to 100% DIY the crap out of my house.
In my case, it would be TikTok videos.
Everybody's got something. I'm telling you, I've got birds coming, because that's what I decided. I want nature to come to me. We've got so many birds here, it's insane. But anyway, yeah, we're all making it work. But just to also say that, listen, that sense of autonomy, we can't let that go. That sense of, listen, I'm directing my life. We can't let that go. And I think that's where people are afraid, is that they go into the future and they say, but I can't do this forever. But you don't have to. The biggest thing right now is to breathe and to go into right now, today. Even if you have your own business, say, today I've still got food, I've got a roof over my head, today I've got friends, today I've got love, today my core values are met, all those things. That's for me the only thing that has helped me to somewhat feel better on bad days.
You see, Rita, that's interesting, because you've tapped at the very end there into gratitude. And I think there's a lot of people who are feeling really grateful. I can still work. I either have family around me or there's many different things that people, they're grateful they can afford to eat, etc. So, and we also on every level being, encouraged to be in touch with our emotions, but not acting on them acting on your emotions can be mentally and physically exhausting. So what we're seeing as a response to that is either people becoming very angry and blasting others on social media, or we're seeing people making sandwiches and going out there, risking themselves and feeding other people. So we're seeing these beautiful things arise. We're also seeing, a lot of stuff on social media. And I was recently on a health and wellness conference with my colleagues around the world. And the countries that are ahead of this process than we are, something very interesting is coming out from that, and it's called offline time, where people are disconnecting. They're disconnecting from social media. They're disconnecting from work. I mean, emails on your phones, this is the life for most of us. They are saying, I'm disconnecting, be it for the weekend or my leave. And I'm so encouraged, workaholic myself. I don't know how I'm going to do it differently, but I'm so encouraged seeing people around me saying, I'm going to respect my leave and be offline. I mean, I admire them because I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I admire this whole movement, because I think we just, as a country, as a world, we're just tiring ourselves out, and we've got to be able to draw our boundaries and say, I'll go on social media and I'll view these things because they feed me, at using it intelligently, or I will interact on this level with these people because they feed me. I think we're becoming more discerning through this process. And if that's what happens, I say, hurrah.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's vitally important. At the beginning of this year, for my own mental wellness, I took emails off of my phone. And I now only check email when I decide to. So I'm like, in the morning, I'm going to go check emails. And in the afternoon, I'll check. Otherwise, I find myself the whole day just replying to emails. I reply to reply to reply. So I did that. And I also took a heavy stance with clients and with suppliers that WhatsApp was not a business medium for me. So please not contact me on WhatsApp. That's not, it's a lot when you're constantly in a space where people can connect with you. And I think you do need to have your own private time. So I think that's vitally, vitally important. One thing that you touched on there with regards to social media, and it's the most bizarre thing that we forget this. We somehow don't realize that it's happening, but there are things that are called algorithms on Facebook, for example. And if you click on a cat video, the Facebook will show you more cat videos. And if it's an angry cat video, Facebook will show you more angry cat videos. And we don't realize that by engaging or by clicking or even just scrolling slower, it's that the algorithms are so crazy that they realize when you scroll that little bit slower and you're actually reading something, they pick up on, and a lot of the time a political story. They'll pick up that you're reading a political story and they will feed you more political stories because they think it's what you want to see. And what happens then is they're tapping into your anger, and you, the stuff that you're reading, it just becomes more and more angry and angry and angry. We don't realize that's happening. So I think what you said there was vitally important, is that we need to read things that make us happy. I remember a time when it was a nice space, and at the moment it feels like a minefield of hate and anger.
What's been very interesting for me is, right now we almost all our own social experiments, which is wonderful, because for the first time you can realize, oh, actually I woke up feeling this way and now something happened and I felt this way, where a lot of people didn't really notice where do my feelings end and what did somebody else cause me to feel, whatever. But something I know we spoke about on that non-webinar, but that is just keep working for me, is this thing that our brains pick up safety cues and danger cues. And if we can keep, and I've really enjoyed stalking all your stuff, Brent, because that's Glimmer. It's Glimmer. It's all Glimmer.
As about to say, you're calling it the wrong thing, because on our webinar that wasn't a webinar, you specifically said it's a glimmer.
And a glimmer and a trigger.
That's it, a trigger and a glimmer. And a glimmer is beautiful and light, and it makes you feel fresh and safe, and just everything is lekker. And then those triggers literally make you clench up, and you draw clench, It's just
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah, it makes you clench up, and also it takes you out of whole brain functioning into survival mode. And I've been so surprised to see, and that's why the reactions have been so heavy, because they are coming from our mammalian and our reptilian brains. If you look at the brain structure, this is the human brain, there's the mammal brain, and this is the reptilian brain. And those survival structures, when people become, you can't even reason with them, nothing, they're in survival mode.
I did not know that we had reptilian. I didn't know that. They didn't teach me that in biology.
No, they won't. This is Peter Levine. He's done excellent work on trauma. Dr. Peter Levine, he's fantastic, and he made this thing so we can all understand. And I must say, the way he put it in that way really landed with me, and I use it so much because I need to know. For instance, if I am too stressed about this talk, say for instance, then I would be picking up, and also who I imagine listening to this talk, if they are people who normally trigger me or that, my brain will not be able to feel safe and social. My brain will not be able to go into a state where I'm creative, where I'm engaged, curious, listening, and that's why. If we are there, that's when that feeling we get when we just like, oh man, I was on fire. But that other one is what we get where we know afterwards, oh man, I could have done so much better. And that's literally just your brain either felt safe and it could give you access to all those places, or your brain picked up too many triggers and it was putting up all your defenses, and it was just surviving and getting through whatever you were doing.
Well, this is exactly why I invited you both on the show today, because I feel that you both are glimmers. You listening to you and having insight into how, you get it. You can see what's going on in the world. When you opened up, you literally went, it sucks. It sucks for everybody. And just saying those words is like a breath of fresh air, because it really does. And we can't all be lacquer all the time. We have to go, it sucks. And now what do we do with that information?
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Brent. You know what? I was walking on a cloud when you said that afterwards last time. And I just realized that it's like, but it is. And I've also, I think the more we can just engage in these platforms, we've got so many. I've done some talks on platforms that you can't see audiences and stuff, and I tell you, it was so hard for me because you can't see when a thing lands or somebody going, you just kind of have to. And after, and I work with dreams and just again because they fall in those unconscious spaces, and it was so interesting for me. I had a dream last week about fish in a riverbed, but there was no water and the fish were busy dying, which is very, very bad omen in the dream world. But anyway, but it was, as I chatted to my therapist about it, we uncovered a bit, and it was so nice to see, because then afterwards I realized that, listen, we're all a fish out of water at the moment. We're not operating in our natural environment. We're not, I see my poor extroverted people on the sessions. Man, it sucks. And in the middle between extrovert and introvert. But I'm slightly introverted, but I also enjoyed going a few places. And
I don't believe you, Rita. I don't think that you.
I think I said on my social media the other day, which I don't want to sound like a weird person, but I miss the kindness of strangers. I miss strangers. I miss sitting in a coffee shop, being surrounded by other human beings that I don't know, that there's just this human entity around me. And I really do miss that. Thankfully, during the 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., I started running, which means I could run past people. And my whole hour and a half run, or however long it took, I spent going, morning, hi, morning, hi, just like the kindness of strangers, just being human again. And I think that's been a huge thing for me to wrap my head around.
Brent, you know what I miss? When someone approaches me, I smile at them. So I smile a lot. Do you know that I needed to get essential goods on Saturday, and I walked up to the till, and I always smile and I greeted, she greeted back. She didn't smile because she couldn't see my smile. And I suddenly felt so impacted by that. You know what? I always get a smile in return. And I think that's just my exchange with the world, is the smile and the smile in return. I miss that. I really do.
I have a really good solution for you. And you
Yes.
were supposed to give me solutions today. I have a number of buffs, and I've just bought them over the years because I use them for cycling and all sorts of things. And I've got 2 buffs that have actually got mouths on them with big smiles.
Ah, that's what I need.
You just need a big smile. And people see me running with that buff on, and they literally smile at me. I can see them smiling underneath their buffs. I think that's a good solution. But I am looking at the time, and I don't want to keep it. I mean, we do have a lot of time on our hands, but I'm sure there's people working and they need to get back to work. So I guess in closing, if you could both just maybe give us one thing, just one thing. If I'm battling today, if I'm having a bad day because it's not great being in lockdown, and it's really scary that there's a global pandemic, and I'm worried about my parents, and there's all these overwhelming things that are going on in my head. If you could both just give me one thing that I could do today that might help me with mental wellness, just today.
Jill, you want to go first?
Thank you for that. You go first, yeah.
Yeah, I do have. I mean, I've always got something to say, but I mean, in this case, I will say the thing I've said to myself, which I'm still not getting right every time, but give yourself permission to just do that day good enough. And if you can, like, just realize that you're a fish out of water, you're basically surviving. These things you two are mentioning now, there's some good neurological research and stuff that shows that we regulate emotions together, whether it be with a stranger and that face and smiling. It lights up in brain scans, it lights up the love center in your brain if you see a smile. It's so good. So just realize that all the stuff we get that we didn't even know we were getting, that fills our cups up, that fills our cars up and makes us able to drive to wherever every day we have to go. We're not getting that. So let's stop beating ourselves up and try to be so wonderful, and let's just do it good enough.
I like that. Jill?
I think mine is similar, except that you're not in your 100% normal world, that you're not going to be 100%, and it's okay to deliver at 80 and keep delivering rather than holding that pose, which is so tiring, and then collapsing. And I think in return, in accepting that, try and be empathetic towards other, that your good day might be their bad day, and vice versa. And I think if we were just kind on one another, we'll get through this. And I heard you say it before, Brent, take the deadline away. We don't know when this is really going to end for us. And is there really going to be an end, or is there just this morphing into something else? So take it away, be kind, empathetic, and we're all in it together.
Yeah, that's how I was going to end, is with that. But Rita, you go. You've got your finger up. This is not classroom.
Now, and I do want to say this, keep getting glimmers. And I want to say to you, Brent, thank you. Thank you for the work you and your team, all your people do. I'm so grateful that's out in the world, just putting more and more glimmers out there. It's just literally keeping people going. So thank you for that.
Very,
that's awesome.
very, very kind of you. What I was going to say is exactly that, is remove the expectation. Exactly what Jill said.
You said it first.
On our webinar, the partner webinar. We built up these ideas in our minds where, I don't know, where we felt that when level 3 would get you, that perhaps they would sell cigarettes. The smokers were hoping for that. And when those and we built it up in our minds. We were like, it's going to happen. It has to happen. It's that expectation. And when it got to the point where it didn't happen, you suffer heartbreak. There's a real heartbreak. And that's a trauma. So remove those expectations, remove the deadlines, remove the dates, live for today, live for now. Stop expecting the president to say something. Stop all of that, and realize and work with what is now, what is here. And I think that made it a little bit easier for me. I did battle, and when I realized that I had no control over those things, it did make it easier for me. So yeah, and then fill your cup. Fill your cup. Do your TikToks. Go play PlayStation. Spend a day in bed if you have to. Switch off social media. In the advertising world, they call it a duvet day, where you literally you text your boss and you go, I'm taking a duvet day. Like, I'm not getting out of bed today, or I am getting out of bed. I'm going to do whatever I want to do so that I can be creative tomorrow. And I think that's vitally important. Everybody needs to be filling up their cups so that they are able to do what they need to do, whether that's spend time with the kids, do their jobs, get through another day. Just fill your cup up. And yeah, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the first Good Things Live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. And we'll be back next week with our second show. And I hope that you tune in. It's been great hanging out with you all. Hope you keep safe. Hope that you stay healthy, and wishing you only good things.